Men and women of Reddit who caught their significant others cheating. How did you do that? And what was your reaction? My ex and I used to share a computer. She was getting messages from her first boyfriend. I didn't bother reading them because I figured he was just saying hi or wanted to know where she was in life now. A couple of months later, I'm on the computer and she insisted that she log out while I'm there. Okay, things feel weird here. Another couple of days pass and she wants to visit her parents. Okay, cool. I keep the kids and she goes off. I get a call from one of my buddies who works at a hotel where my ex and I are both from, saying my wife just checked in with another guy. So long story short, divorced her. F you Stephanie. Went for my yearly checkup and tested positive for chlamydia. Turns out my ex was sleeping around. This happened to me too. Then my ex faked a doctor's note with the words negative, yet he was still prescribed antibiotics, just in case. Little did I know that everyone and their mom advises to never take antibiotics unless you really need them. Also, the condom in his wallet was missing, but he insisted he used it with me. I was on the pill. Went out with a friend. The bartender was a girl my age-ish and goes, "Hey, you look familiar. Aren't you so and so's ex-wife?" We were currently married. They had been hooking up a while. He had been telling her he took our divorce hard apparently. Thank God she was there for him. I caught my wife after she passed away from cancer. Worst feeling ever. Caught between unending love, mourning and absolute anger. This is almost word for word how the convo went. Me. You sleeping with so and so. Oh, yay. Me. Want a divorce? Oh, kinda. Me. Okay, I'll file tomorrow. This is saddest comment I've read in this thread so far. The 1st of June, 2018. Normal day. A Friday. My husband had kissed me goodbye and gone to work. I was cleaning the house for company who was coming to stay the weekend. The doorbell rang. There was a man at my door who introduced himself as the husband of a woman who my husband worked with. He was there to tell me that my husband and his wife were having an affair. He had busted them about 6 months prior and had told his wife that she had to end the affair. He thinks that she did end it for about 3 months. But then they started up again. When he found out they were at it again, he called my husband because he knew if he confronted him in person, he'd be in a jail cell for what he'd have done. On the phone, he told my husband to leave his wife alone or else he would come and tell me everything that was happening. Apparently, my husband thought that he was bluffing, so I was literally the last to know. My husband never came home again. He got an Airbnb and a lawyer. The divorce was the 21st of December, 2018. We had been together for 24 years. Still hurts. The story is remarkable in that it happened before the internet was widely available, in the very early 90s, when the world seemed much bigger. My fiancée, Meg, had 1 semester left of college that had to be taken as an internship abroad for her major. She chose to go to Belgium for this internship. I stayed back. The plan was that I would set up house when she returned that summer. She would move directly and we would set a date for our wedding. So, while Meg was off in Europe, calling every couple of weeks to check in, the long distance was super expensive back then, sending me postcards, letters. I moved into brownstone, bought furniture, etc. About 2 weeks before Meg was supposed to return, I stopped into a nearby coffee house that I had noticed down the block, but had yet to visit. To my surprise, I found that my neighbor from growing up in a completely different city, Claire, was a waitress there. We hadn't seen each other since high school, so we made a plan to meet up after her shift for a cup of coffee to catch up. We met. Claire told me that she was engaged as well, to a man, Ben, who was completing his course of study by working on an internship in, you guessed it, Belgium. I couldn't believe the coincidence. Told her about my fiancé, that they had to know each other. Crazy, right? A couple days later, I stopped in for a cup of coffee. Claire looked extremely upset. She asked if I had time to wait, as she had a break coming up, that she needed to talk to me. We went outside. She told me that she had gotten a call from her Aunt Sue the day before. Aunt Sue had just returned from Czechoslovakia. That something very strange had happened. While they were touring Prague, Sue, her travel group, had stayed in a local hotel. The next morning she had run into Claire's fiancé, Ben, in the lobby with a female companion by the name of Meg. She said that he introduced her as a student from America, that they worked together, but it was very awkward. They both looked sketchless. Claire said that she immediately called long distance to Belgium. After several tries over the course of a day or so, got him on the phone. She asked him about the chance encounter. He said he had been kind of expecting her call. Ended up admitting that he had been seeing Meg pretty much the entire time they were in Europe, spending weekends, holidays, traveling around with each other. I was floored. Couldn't believe it. I went home, started trying to call Meg at her dorm in Belgium. Finally getting through to her late into the night, early morning for her. I point blank asked her if she was dating Ben. I didn't even explain how I knew about it. She hemmed-hawed for a moment, kind of acting like I was crazy for saying something so nonsensical. But when I said that I knew Claire, she dropped the facade, admitted to all of it. So Ben and Meg had a very bittersweet homecoming. Meg got off much easier than Ben, as Claire had already left all of his belongings on the front lawn from the day she found out, which had been pretty picked over by the time he got back 2 weeks later. I did pick Meg up from the airport. I think at the time I really just wanted to see her face when I told her that all of our friends knew what a piece of she was, that I never wanted to see her again. To this day I revel in how many utterly astounding factors of complete random coincidence went into Meg Ben, who later married, then later divorced after he cheated on her, being caught. The universe works in incredible mysterious ways. We got married when I was 17, and he was 21. He was shipping off to sea, and I was escaping a bad home life. When he came back after his deployment, he wasn't the same person anymore. After about 6 months, he gained weight on purpose to fail his physicals so he'd get kicked out of the Navy. Fast forward a year, I'm working full time, and he is sitting at home, watching anime and drinking during the day, and telling me that he was applying to jobs. I was applying to universities when my laptop died on me. I asked to use his to finish nap, and while doing so a message popped up on his FB, a topless pic of his ex. From her. I was shocked and opened it to find that they'd been dating for a long time. Started again while he was at sea in the Navy. He would talk to her and never to me, saying that he never got the time to email. I confronted him. He made a bunch of pitiful excuses. I had my friends come to the house that day and kick him out while I went to work. He then stalked me for the next few years, and made posts on his FB about how I was a coward. He sent emails and called from block numbers to tell me that a restraining order is just a piece of paper, or that our vows before God made me his property and sh like that. Then he bought a gun, and started telling our friends that if he can't have me, no one can. I ended up talking to our friends, and told everyone conflicting information about where I was going, and moved states. I deleted all my personal social media accounts and lived in fear for years, watching him continually make memes about how he loved his wife and would do anything for her. It took 8 years for me to finally get the divorce from him. I caught my ex sexting a chick and telling her how he missed her on my birthday. I was young at the time and reacting with crying and yelling. If it ever happened now, I would just get up and leave. No point in trying to mend the relationship because it's near impossible to gain the trust that was lost. Oh wow. I posted this before a long time ago in a revenge subreddit, but it fits here perfectly. I had been dating this guy for almost a year and I thought it was going pretty well. We had even been talking about moving in together soon once he got a promotion and could better afford a house. One night I was at his apartment and he left his phone charging in the bathroom. I got up to go to the bathroom and his phone buzzed. Maybe I shouldn't have looked, but I was curious why he got a text so late. So I looked and it's some woman saying, "Are you coming over tomorrow night or is she still around?" I was of course furious, so I unlocked the phone. I don't think he knew I knew his code, but I did, and read through their messages. Apparently he'd been dating her for about a month and she even knew he was in a relationship. They were talking about me and she said, "You're really still dating that zookeeper?" He said yeah, and she smells like one too or something like that, and how I was broke and he was glad he met this other woman instead. So I cried for a while in the bathroom before leaving. I told him I was just sick and had to go home, while I thought about what to do. I can't believe he was not only seeing her but also that he'd insult me like that. I work with otters, sea lions, and foxes, which are all super stinky animals, but I always shower after work when I can. I'm sure there's still some smell, but he'd never said it was a problem before. I decided not just to break up with him but to get back at him. If he wants to cheat and say I stink after I shower, I'll show him a stink. I started secretly shoveling some pretty nasty stuff at work into a baggie towards the end of the day and taking it home, and that went on for a couple weeks. One day when he was at work, I went to his apartment. I had a key and went to the bedroom and dumped about 10 pounds of otter crap on his bed, the bed we slept together on. I underestimated the effect this would have in a warm indoor space. It's awful even at the zoo in open air, but that putrid digested fish smell hit me like a ton of bricks. After walking outside to gag for 2 minutes, I got the courage to go back in and leave him a note saying that I'm breaking up with him. Left the key on the counter and went home. He texted me in all caps that night about how he was going to sue me, but I blocked his phone. This first started back in December, right before we went on a holiday trip to see my family. She started acting somewhat off, kinda distant, and easily aggravated. I had a suspicion that something was going on, and I'm embarrassed to admit that I snooped on her iWatch, found some incriminating texts she had with a friend. So I confronted her in January. She tells me that she kissed a guy that she works with and that was it. We were having some issues in our relationship and I choose to forgive her, and we decided to try working on some of the issues we were having. Well, fast forward to this past May, she breaks down that she wasn't honest with me and that she had actually effed this other dude. We split after the news. We had been together 8 years and had been engaged for almost 2 years. Our wedding date was supposed to be yesterday. It's still killing me. I don't even know where to go from here. 2020 can go eat a dick. A friend of mine was suspicious of her husband cheating, as he went to play soccer with friends way too often. He always came already showered as he would sweat playing. One day she sewed his soccer socks together, and when he came back all showered she saw the socks were still sewed, so he wasn't playing soccer at all. I caught my ex-husband cheating as an accident. We had gone to work in the evening and I couldn't get into my office due to a building screw up, so he let me in his so I could print something. He went for a walk to get his steps in. As I was on his computer I realized it was logged into Facebook. I just had a feeling. I looked in the messages and he had been chatting with a woman he met in another country via our work. I copied all I could and confronted him when he returned. Made him take me for a drink and told him there would be no reconciliation. He was shell shocked and I told him to go home and pack a bag. That was 6 months ago and I'm really happy to have lost the dead weight. He was a difficult man, emotionally abusive, but I lived my vows and tried to help him as much as I could and reorganized my life around him. I found out he had signed up for a bunch of apps, such as Ashley Madison, Tinder, and Bumble. He would message his mutual acquaintances asking if they'd be up for massages, etc. I blamed myself for years that he wasn't interested in me because I'd had a baby and gained a little weight. Nope, he just enjoyed contacting other women. We're in the middle of our divorce now. He doesn't understand why I'm wrecking our marriage because of a few indiscretions. I was at work and tried to call my boyfriend, but he wasn't answering even after a few hours, and I just got a horrible feeling. It stressed me out so badly for some reason that I started to cry and my boss let me go home. The whole way home I just kept feeling serious dread. Walked in the house and into my bedroom, and he was laying in bed half clothed with some naked chick. Obviously a huge blow up went down, and after everything settled, this moth affair tried to tell me that he went to the movies alone and met her there and she followed him home. Like, even if I believe that this person just followed you home and got naked, you let her do it. So what's the purpose of saying that to me? It was a shitty abusive relationship, and it didn't even end then. I eventually broke up with him, but not on the spot like I should have. If I could change anything about my life, it would be that I wish I broke up with that guy sooner. That was over 10 years ago though. Dated a girl for about 2 years. Like 18 months into the relationship we're talking about moving in together. Then kinda out of nowhere she starts becoming distant and irritable. We ended up breaking up. Fast forward 3 months after the breakup I found that Facebook has a section where messages from non-friends are kept. Turns out my then GF was banging her ex and the UPS driver that delivered to her store at the mall. She ended getting with the UPS driver and his 3 kids. Last I checked they're effing miserable and it brings me joy every time I think about it. I had my suspicions but it was her who ended up telling me. I went into the relationship thinking wow, I don't deserve this girl. Way out of my league. She couldn't help but remind me how much better he was several times and made sure to rub it in my face. My reaction was a spiral into deep depression. For someone that has very low self-esteem, being cheated on is one of the worst feelings. It feels like it confirms all your worst thoughts about yourself. I knew he had been unfaithful in the past, but I didn't really love him, so it was not that bad. However, I was bartending one night and this drunk chick walks up and tells me that I looked familiar. She then proceeds to yell, "Oh, my friend is F-ing your husband." So I walked into the beer keg cooler with a bottle of vodka. I downed some shots and went back to work. I held it in that I knew for a few months while I hired an attorney and figured out my next move. I had 3 kids to think of too, so I moved with my kids back home to Texas and got divorced. Now, I'm engaged to my childhood best friend and we plan to marry in Yosemite next year. He's the complete opposite of my ex. Kind, supportive, and loving. I had come home from a 5-month cruise. My GF at the time was a court stenographer. So when she wasn't at the pier, I figured she had a case or was catching up on transcripts. So I got a ride from my friend to see unfamiliar BMW in my driveway. I walk in to see her blowing some stranger on my couch. Keep in mind this was my house, not hers. I didn't say a word to her. I just started grabbing her and throwing it in the front yard and called her father to come pick her up because her car was an old Quattro and in the shop again. And up to that point I was letting her drive mine until it was fixed. I will not bore you with the drama, but she was taken by the MAs instead of her dad. Back then Facebook used to display on your profile stuff like "don't say a word" to liked a photo and everything you did. I noticed he liked a photo of a girl that seemed to be someone he had recently added. So I checked her profile and she was one of those girls who think they won because men cheat on their partners with them. She had everything public. Photos with him, bragging about the texts they exchanged, etc. So I engineered a way to befriend her roommate. I would then find out she was bringing other dudes home besides my boyfriend, and when I confronted him I also let him know about who else she was sleeping with and for him to get an STD test. I caught my RuneScape GF Amanda 411 dancing with some other guy in Lumbridge. Some guy by the name of Noobslayer94. How could you do this to me, Amanda 411?